Hello, welcome everyone who's joining us for today's Clean Air webinar. We'll just give everyone a couple minutes to get settled in their seats before we begin. Wonderful. Okay, welcome everyone to today's Clean Air webinar hosted by Alberta Capital Airshed. We are so pleased to have some great folks from some great organizations across Canada joining us. To begin our webinar though today, we'd like to start with a land acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge that Alberta Capital Airshed is on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral territory of many First Nations, including the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta. Today, we honor the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who have been on this land since time immemorial by being thoughtful about the air we breathe and how we can work to ensure it is healthy and life-giving for our earth, the current generation, and for many generations to come. I invite you to take a moment to consider the land and air from which you join us today. So welcome. Ever wonder about the air quality in other areas of Canada, or what different organizations are doing when it comes to engaging on the topic of air quality? Today, we welcome speakers from different organizations from Alberta, Ontario, and British Columbia. Tanya Carlson, give a little wave, is from the Calgary Region Airshed Zone, or CRAZ, as we will be referring to Tanya's organization today. We have Devanshi, Kukadia, and Desislava Stefanova from Clean Air Partnership in Ontario. And we have Patience Rakochy from Fraser, Basin Council in British Columbia. So welcome. How today's webinar will work is we have a 60-minute jam-packed webinar for you. Each panelist will do a short presentation, and then after all three panelists or all four panelists and three organizations have done their presentation, we will open the floor to questions and answers. I would encourage you, if you have a question throughout the panelists' presentations, to just write that in the Q&A box down at the bottom of your screen. If you want to put in a comment, that's totally okay. We welcome that as well. Get some dialogue going, some additional sharing of information. But for the Q&A section, I will be referring to the Q&A box and the questions that are put there. The other thing I would like to advise you is that this webinar is being recorded, and we will be posting it to our website and social media channels after the event. So with that, Tanya, welcome. Tanya Carlson started working with CRAZ as the Engagement Program Manager in March 2015. Her role in CRAZ has allowed her to host workshops, promote idle-free programs, and teach in area schools. Tanya has spent several years working in nonprofits in marketing and special event management. She has 10 years of experience as a recreational therapist specializing in gerontology, and we're so happy to welcome her here. I will also note that Tanya is a very busy lady and is actually heading to another webinar within the hour, so may step out of this webinar a few minutes early. So we're very happy to have her here to kick us off. Go ahead, Tanya.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you to the Alberta Capital Airshed for hosting this webinar and for inviting us to join. It's a pleasure to be here. So let me just share presentation. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about who the Calgary Region Airshed Zone is and who we are a part of. So in our region, so it's on the bottom left hand of that map, we have 1.8 million people in our region, 40 municipalities and First Nations, over 100 industries. CRAZ has been around for over 15 years now, and we are one of 10 airsheds in the province. An airshed is a group of stakeholders that work towards maintaining and improving the air quality in a geographical region. And today we're going to talk about stakeholders and how we engage with our stakeholders and members of the public. CRAZ is comprised of the three sectors and expertise from the government, from industry, and the public and non-government organizations. One of the things we do at CRAZ and how we plan our whole program is around measurement, which measurement is the first step that leads to control and eventually to improvement. If you can't measure something, you can't understand it. If you can't understand it, you can't control it. If you can't control it, you can't improve it. And this quote was by H. James Harrington, and that really fits into our CRAZ mandate. These are some of the ways that we monitor in the CRAZ area. We have 4 continuous ambient air monitoring stations, so 3 located around the city of Calgary and 1 in Airdrie. We have a portable air monitoring lab, which goes to different locations around our region. And we have purple air sensors, which is in the bottom corner, the white smaller sensor that we have region-wide. And all of our data is real time on our website, and it's CRAZ.ca. The Air Quality Health Index is a tool that is used across Canada, and it's the lower the number, the lower the health risk. So this is an important tool of what we use to teach our members, teach members of the public, and most importantly, to teach our students. I'm going through this a little bit quickly because I have a feeling that a lot of people listening today are part of an airshed or have background in what CRAZ is doing and what the airsheds are doing. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A and I'll be happy to answer further. The AQHI is available on the Weather Network app. And also for our continuous stations, the AQHI is also on our website, CRAZ.ca. So we have our commitment to the community, and our commitment to our community is a big part of our education and outreach programs. So we share knowledge through tours of our stations and through school programs and through workshops. School programs, CRAZ likes to go in with our air quality scientist and to teach the students about air quality, what the impact they have and what they can do to help protect air quality. So these are free school presentations that we offer. And for our thanks to the students, we give idle-free traffic signs to them and make them become ambassadors to their schools. And they all seem to really enjoy that. We also give little cloud squishies and they really enjoy that as well. So we work closely with groups such as Inside Education, Ever Active Schools, Eco Schools Canada to help get our air quality messaging into schools. I find it's easier to work with those organizations that already have that connection to the school, already have the foot in the door. They come and ask us to help them with the presentations, which is great. One of the things that I've liked the most is going to the schools and the students teach us what they've learned or show us their videos, and they're very happy to share with us things we can post on our social media, such as their idle-free traffic signs and what their school is doing. So we really like to work collaboratively with those students. We've even had students come to our AGM and teach us there. So it's been a great couple of years doing that here. We also have a commitment to learning for the community. So we've done community programs such as workshops with the community. We've had electric vehicles. We give community tours of the portable air monitoring lab. We have booths set up so they can learn more. At one of our stations, we have educational learning stations at the site. So even when they're going for a walk, it's located in a park by the Inglewood Bird Sanctuary in Calgary, that they can read what the station's all about and learn a little bit about air quality. We also have industry members we give free tours to, and members, non-government organization, really anybody that comes to us and wants to know what the stations are, we offer free tours. And we also offer tours to the media as well. So our commitment to our members is to teach the municipalities and industries and the general public and how can we help them. So several of the pictures here that I have listed, Wheatland County has become an idle-free zone at all of their facilities in the county. So they really worked hard on a carpooling program and a mentorship program, what other people were doing. And they had a lunch, a barbecue lunch, where they invited all their staff in and had us come in and present to them. And they also had traffic enforcement come in, and we could ask questions about traffic enforcement. It was a really good day to go out there and do that. We've also had a larger scale industry, Lafarge, who has created idle-free zones in all of their buildings in our area, and that was 50 locations. So we hope to be able to do that more widely with more municipalities and more industries. We have a Commuter Connect program that helps organizations foster a more efficient, healthy, environmentally responsible way for employees to travel to and from work. So it is a survey that employees or employers can do and just find out what the barriers are to finding a more efficient way to get to work. So with one program, we found that one organization, the employees felt that they didn't have proper showers, that they could shower if they biked into downtown. One organization found they had no safe place for their bikes. So it just took giving up a few parking spots, creating a metal cage in the parkade, that the employees felt that their bikes had a safe place to go. So that's a special one to us, and that's one that we really like to promote, being idle-free and connecting commuters. CRAZ really works hard with their members, and our members kind of drive where CRAZ goes. So we have committees, and the committees are listed here. So engagement, so that's our education and outreach, our air quality management. So CRAZ has an air quality management plan that was created about 9-10 years ago, and it's updated every 3 to 5 years. So we're in a process of doing an achievement report this year, and the air quality management plan will be completed next year again. And that committee really focuses on what were the objectives of that plan, and are we meeting them, and what we can do to further meeting those goals. Our technical committee meets every month and reviews the data. Finance reviews the finance of the organization. Policy and research looks at any government policy, federal or provincial, and how can CRAZ help our members comply to those policies. And a new one this last couple of years has been a smoke committee, and we work on teaching our members about smoke and health. So working with some of our other members, just a little sample. So our community guide to wildfire, smoke and health is the resource guide that I was talking about that the smoke committee does. And we also have a school resource guide coming out for that as well. We've worked with the Calgary Metropolitan Regional Board, CASA, the Clean Air Strategic Alliance, City of Calgary. We've worked on the Alberta Environment and Parks South Saskatchewan Regional Plan. So we like really working with other people to get our message across, be collaborative as possible. Our workshops, we have 1 to 2 workshops a year and several lunch and learns. So our workshops are really built of what our members are asking for. So for example, our dust and health effects and suppression, that comes from an agricultural based municipality who asked us, what can you do for us? What issues do we have, and what can we do? So we really focused on dust health effects and suppression of dust. Let's talk about air quality forum. That was focused around smoke and health, transportation and air quality, building healthier communities together, and industry and air quality. And we just had a recent one in the fall based on odor. So it's really our members that come to us and really drive what our communications committee does, what our air quality management plan. Everybody comes and sits at the table. We encourage all of our members to have somebody on our committees. So that's what gets the most out of their membership to us. And it helps us reach more people. And we love talking to the public, and we do that through our CRAZ blogs. So our blogs are based on positive stories from our members. We encourage them to help us write the blogs and do some encouragement. And we also have some technical information on there as well. We have a Twitter account, Facebook account, an Instagram account, and LinkedIn account just added this year. So that is all for me. So I welcome any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Tanya. Great presentation. And I'm going to sort of tee up one thing in that you touched on in your presentation, which is around the airsheds, that there are 10 in Alberta and that together we are part of the Alberta Airsheds Council. So in commercial break number 1 for this webinar, I just would like to let everyone know that Alberta Airshed Council just released its annual report last week for 2022, and I encourage you to go take a look at that. I've put the link in the chat for anybody who is logged in live. If you are watching the recording, of course, you can find that with a quick Google search for Alberta Airsheds Council. Thank you, Tanya. If since you may be heading out a little bit early, I'm going to ask just one question in case we don't get to the full Q&A section with you, and that's around the Wheatland County and that whole process where they went idle free. Wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about your role in that, or things that you observed that you would sort of lend as a bit of advice or things for people to think about if they wanted to start that kind of conversation in their local area. Great.
I think one of the first things Wheatland County did was they put out a survey about how do you get to work, and if many of you are from across the country. So Wheatland County is more of an agricultural municipality outside of the city of Calgary. So they didn't really know how that would go across. Asking, you know, do you carpool to work? Do you take alternate forms of transportation? Because unfortunately, there wasn't alternate forms of transportation to get out to their facilities. And then they also, so the survey actually went better than she thought, and it actually did come to get some people to carpool with each other. So if they met outside the city limits and then drove the rest of the way to the facility, they also put some monitors in their vehicles on idle time, and they did find they had one truck run for a straight 24 hours and didn't move from a location. So it was quite eye-opening in that. So then they had a barbecue as well, as I mentioned, for their staff, and they just focused it on air quality and just to think about it. And they put the idle-free signs up at all their facilities. So any vehicle that was sitting outside the facilities did see that sign. So they were very pleased that they felt that they did get benefits for their employees and for them. And I have to say with Lafarge, they found that once they started monitoring their idle usage, they went from, what was it? It was 300 to 100 to 30 exceedances over 10 minutes in 3 months. So that's how far a drop that they did. So it was just more about changing behaviors.
Wow, that's impressive, right? It shows that, you know, a little bit of thinking around it, a little bit of commitment can make a big difference. So thank you for your presentation and for answering that one question. We'll get to the other 2 presenters and then we'll head back into Q&A for the group. Thank you again, Tanya. I'd like to welcome Devanshi and Desislava from Clean Air Partnership in Ontario. I'll introduce both of them, and then I think they're going to tag team the presentation one at a time. So Desislava Stefanova is the outreach manager at Clean Air Partnership in Ontario, and the lead of the Climate Action Council, Canada's largest peer-to-peer municipal climate action network. Desislava is a passionate public speaker and ambassador of ideas, acting as a bridge between science, policy, business, and broader audiences. Welcome, Desislava. Devanshi Kukadia is the climate communications lead at Clean Air Partnership. She is passionate about building climate resilience in community and bringing positive changes in policies related to climate change and pollution at all levels of government. In her free time, she volunteers with the United Nations Association of Canada and the Canadian Youth Biodiversity Network to advance youth-led environmental initiatives. So welcome to the both of you.
And thank you, Julie, and to Alberta Capital Airshed for having us here today. Hi, everyone. I'm Devanshi, and I'm the Communications Manager at Clean Air Partnership in Toronto. Today, I and my colleague Desi will be talking about our Clean Air Council program, which convenes Canada's largest peer-to-peer municipal climate action network. We are joining here today from the city of Toronto, and we want to acknowledge that the stolen land on which we operate is traditional territory of Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. At CAP, we recognize that many Indigenous peoples are particularly vulnerable to climate change and will be disproportionately impacted by its effects. Through our work, we are committed to disrupting ongoing approaches to climate governance that produce settler-colonial relations and systemically exclude peoples from policymaking. We will start our presentation with going a little bit into the history of Clean Air Partnership. When Clean Air Partnership was established 20 years ago, air pollution was a major public health crisis that rightly attracted considerable media and political attention. Smog days were the norm, and with over 53 days recorded in 2005 alone. In 2005, the Ontario Medical Association released the Illness Costs of Air Pollution report, which showed that over 5,800 Ontarians suffered premature deaths and over 16,000 hospital admissions annually as a result of air pollution. For the very first time, this foundational report put a societal economic cost on pollution, which totaled up to around $7.8 billion annually only for Ontario. The report expedited urgent policy actions on improving air quality. In response, Clean Air Partnership convened local government representatives from across the province, which was the first of its kind of a get-together to work on cross-jurisdictional issues. Together, this group worked to coordinate the development of municipal smog reduction plans. In 2001, Ontario had 5 coal-fired power plants, and in 2013, this number was reduced to only 1, which closed the following year. Concurrently, industrial emissions were also improved through site-specific standards and emission control regulations. Cleaner vehicle production and emissions testing regulations also reduced transportation emissions, and Ontario has not seen a smog day since 2013. So does that mean that this problem is solved? Far from it. In 2019, Health Canada released the 2019 Health Impacts of Air Pollution in Canada report, which provided an updated estimate of morbidity and premature mortality from anthropogenic air pollution. This report estimates that over 14,600 Canadians prematurely died from air pollution annually, an increase of over 200 deaths as compared to the 2017 report. In Ontario specifically, they noted that 6,700 premature deaths occurred annually, which is an increase of over 1,100 deaths from 2005's Ontario Medical Association report. Albeit, this study did use a different methodology. Despite reductions in most common air pollutants in Ontario over the past 20 years, the health penalty Ontarians pay as a result of air pollution remained relatively unchanged. Now, I'll come back to the history in the later part of this event, but now I wanted to share a little bit about the model that we use, which proved and is continuously proving to be very successful. Clean Air Council started as a municipal air coalition and is now Canada's largest peer-to-peer municipal climate action network with over 39 municipalities and public health units working collaboratively on clean air and climate change. The Clean Air Council presents an opportunity to take a collaborative approach, pooling research findings, expertise, and lessons learned while enabling actions that benefit our communities and beyond. The network provides peer-to-peer learning and resource exchange opportunities with multiple jurisdictions in Ontario. This is a collaborative platform to address complex municipal environmental issues, and this approach helps Clean Council members to achieve far more with very few resources that they have. We also have an extensive resource library showcasing over 170 webinar recordings, presentations, case studies, and multiple resources to support new and existing municipal employees in delivering their climate action. Together, we've removed more than 19 million tons of carbon emissions and achieved more than over 1,000 sustainability and climate action initiatives, and reaching out to over 80% of Ontario's population. You can see those actions in an interactive way through our Climate Action Atlas. This atlas highlights ambitious municipal climate mitigation actions across our 39 municipalities. And Julie will be sharing a link in the chat. And now I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Desi to talk about one initiative that we participated in recently.
Devanshi, can you share the presentation?
Yeah, just a second, Desi.
I will be talking, just to close the loop, I'll be talking about the study that, the loop of the history, I guess, that we provided, but a study that was in 2019 and we participated. It's the latest piece of significant study on air pollution in Ontario that took part in the Greater Toronto Hamilton area. We refer to GTHA. So this study covers, maybe just to point out that we were part of the stakeholders, but the organization behind the study is the Environmental Defense, which is a nonprofit in Ontario, and researchers from University of Toronto with Mariana Hadjipopoulou, the lead researcher on this project. So the study looked at how electric vehicles and cleaner trucks can help reduce pollution, improve health, and save lives in the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area. They modeled 5 scenarios to compare the health benefits of reducing traffic pollution from cars, SUVs, trucks, and buses. The study showed that trucks are among the dirtiest vehicles on the road, and shifting to 100% cleaner trucks in the GTHA would provide up to $2.1 billion per year in social benefits. As you can see on the slide on the second row, the one other scenario that's the one on the first row, which shows that if all the cars on the road are EV, they will additionally provide $2.4 billion per year in social benefits. In the next part of the presentation, I will invite you to watch this short video that summarizes the main points of the study.
Clearing the air on the unfair impacts of vehicle pollution. Air pollution from gas and diesel vehicles harms our health. In the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area alone, traffic pollution causes nearly 900 premature deaths every year. Lower-income neighborhoods are often located closer to busy roads where traffic pollution is higher. People living in these communities are also more likely to have chronic heart and lung conditions. This puts them at greater risk from air pollution. That's unfair. We can save lives by reducing traffic pollution. One way to do this is by switching to electric cars and buses and cleaner trucks. Switching to all-electric cars will prevent over 300 premature deaths a year in the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area. Cleaner trucks will prevent 275 premature deaths each year. Our governments need to do more to get gas and diesel vehicles off the road. This will improve our health, especially for people most at risk. Environmental injustice can no longer be tolerated. We need to invest in cleaner vehicles and more ways to cycle and walk to where we need to go. Find out more at clearingtheair.ca.
And I will conclude this presentation with the following, which is kind of like summarizing what they stated at the end as well. But Canadian communities need near road monitoring to better understand the health implications for our populations. In the meantime, there are policies that could be implemented to provide considerable and immediate health improvements, such as the removal of older heavy-duty, high-emitted vehicles from our roadways, as well as overall removing the dependence on single-occupied vehicles and prioritize active transportation and complete communities. And with this, our presentation, it's at the end, and we welcome any questions. You can reach out to us and sign up for our upcoming events by signing up to our CSC newsletter, which will, I see that the link is in the chat. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you for that presentation, Desislava and Devanshi. It's so cool to see that there are many topics that I think several organizations in different provinces are dealing with. I know one of our previous Clean Air webinars, we touched on EVs and the intersection between climate change and air quality improvement actions. So lots of cross-pollination of ideas and different ways that organizations are tackling these issues across the country. So thank you for that. We'll get back to some more Q&A once we welcome our final speaker in this webinar. Welcome, Patience Rakochy. Patience is a recent addition to the Fraser Basin Council team. She was brought on board as the general manager of the Prince George Air Improvement Roundtable, which is also called PG Air, to support the members of that are working to achieve desired air quality targets for the region. She manages all the affairs of the roundtable, including budgets, special committees, community presence, and events coordination. She is currently working in collaboration with other regional air quality managers to realize efficiencies and design projects that reach a broader audience. She is also in the process of developing a new air quality management plan with members of PG Air. So with that, Patience, I welcome you to begin your presentation. And yeah, excited to learn about this collaboration you're doing over there in BC. So welcome.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Just gonna set my screen up too over here.
Wonderful. And while you're getting it set up, I'll let everyone know, watch the chat. I will also put a link to Fraser Basin Council into the chat as well, if you'd like to learn more about what they are up to.
I just want to make sure everybody can see my screen okay?
Looks great to me. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Good morning, everyone. Hello, and it is really great to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that I am speaking to you today from the unceded ancestral lands of the Lheidli-T'enneh, lands upon which we are fortunate to work, live, play, and most importantly, breathe. Due to kind of a quick presentation this morning, I didn't do up an outline for my presentation. I'm just going to quickly go through a bit of background, and then I want to dig into the real reason that I was asked to attend today, and that was to present on some of the collaboration that we've recently undertaken here in British Columbia. I'm not sure who all is participating this morning, so I want to give just a little bit of a background on air quality management in BC. As I'm sure everyone is well aware, air quality management is very complex across all of our provinces. And this slide is actually kind of simplistic to represent the complexity of air quality management. Not only are there countless sources of air pollutants, but of course there's many jurisdictional layers to managing it. I'm sure that this varies with all varying with various authorities. No one level of government has sole jurisdiction over air emissions, and this is, I'm hearing, likely very similar across other provinces. Air quality in BC is managed through a range of provincial acts, regulations, laws. Federal government, of course, as everyone knows, plays quite a role. With all provinces, we also have regional and municipal governments pitching in. Air quality management in BC has therefore become quite a collaborative effort between multiple stakeholders in any given community. And I'm kind of hearing those common themes as we go across the country. So that's kind of cool. They join forces to tackle such tasks as data assessments, emissions inventories and modeling exercises, and of course, interpreting the results into actions that are aimed at reducing the more pressing contaminants in any given region. And I'll provide some examples of that stuff here shortly. This slide is just to show everyone that we have air zones like others in BC, and this is how we're divided up. Of course, this is for the purpose of reporting trends in air quality over time, which is compiled here in BC by the province in air zone reports that cover approximately a 3-year period. The complex terrain and weather patterns in BC naturally divides the province into those more discrete airsheds. And then they're not shown here, but there are a number of airsheds across BC, and anyone who is familiar with the province can probably picture Valemount has an airshed, Prince George, Kitimat, Bulkley Valley, the Lower Fraser. There's a number of airsheds. A little bit of background on who I am and who I'm working with. This is also an example of the collaboration that I was talking about. I'm with the Prince George Air Improvement Roundtable, or PG Air, which was established in the early 1990s. And this diagram just illustrates the phases of air quality management that PG Air has diligently worked through over these years. They've been at it for a very long time. Phases 1, 2, and 3 were air quality management plans that were developed based on the needs of the community at those times and in those years. Of course, air quality isn't static, and it's impacted by various entrants and even exits out of the airshed, as well as things like an expanding community. PG Air is a nonprofit society that works in collaboration with the public and many organizations, including local and provincial government. So the City of Prince George, the Regional District of Fraser, Fort George, the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change Strategy. So the provincial government, industry, academia, we have UNBC up here, community groups, health agencies, as well as the commercial and transportation sectors. These groups are working towards continuous improvement in the air with air quality within the Prince George airshed. As we all know, air quality requires that continuous attention and continuous improvement. So we are currently implementing our 2022 to 2026 strategic plan and working towards the primary goal, which is developing a comprehensive air quality management plan for the region. We would like this next plan to be a little bit longer, but more like a 10-year vision, and really address actions that everybody in the community can be taking. So I came along in 2022, which wasn't that long ago. I haven't been with PG Air for a year yet, but I was really excited to get working with this group and help continue the great work that they're doing to improve air quality within our region. And while it didn't take me long to get completely overwhelmed by all that can and should be done to help improve air quality in a given area, but there is only so much time in a day, and there's only so many hours in a work week. So on my journey, I also quickly learned that there are a number of common themes, and these areas: industrial emissions, transportation and dust, wood burning, commercial emissions, research, education, outreach. Those are, again, common themes that I'm hearing from my fellow presenters. But of course, anyone who works in this field knows that any one of these particular areas can create a pretty much full-time job. So I thought, I quickly learned that there were others just like me sitting at their desks and going about their communities, working hard to raise awareness and educate their communities, find funding for various initiatives, develop plans, seek expert advice, etc. And so I asked around and was able to get in contact with some of these other airsheds in our central interior. I just wanted to connect like minds with like minds and see if there were opportunities that we could team up on, cover things, more effectively, more efficiently, collaborate on projects, share information. So I started reaching out to a number of these individuals, and I was able to get a first meeting scheduled and eventually establish a bit of a regular meeting environment. And we did lose one of our groups just due to their individual capacity, which is unfortunate. I'm hoping one day that they'll be able to have a bit more time and be able to join back with us. But so far, the three of us, Kitimat, Bulkley Valley, and Prince George, have managed to stick together. We really do believe that interagency collaboration will improve the quality, the quantity, and the timeliness of information that we are able to provide to our communities. And it is going to take time. We do realize that, but we're together and we're committed to this regional group cause. And I want to take a second on this particular slide to just highlight a few of our collective resources. We receive expert advice, scientific information, literature, contacts, information sources, funding opportunities, etc., from agencies like the BC Lung Foundation, the province of BC, again, specifically the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change Strategy, Northern Health, and UNBC. And we've recently reestablished a connection with our Northern University, who has done a lot of research for PGR over the years in analyzing the pollutants in the airshed and assisting with developing our plans and the data that goes into those plans. But we now have the Northern Analytics Lab up at UNBC, and there's a number of really young, enthusiastic minds at work specifically on air quality research initiatives, and we're really hoping to collaborate with them as we move forward. And speaking quite quickly, because I wanted to make sure I get through everything in time. This regional collaboration, as I said, has been a bit of a slow process, and we are still managing, because we are still managing our individual workloads. But we do really believe that by using our strengths and identifying opportunities, we'll be able to improve the overall outcome of our individual programs. This slide just quickly is to show you where we are situated in relation to one another. I think you can see my cursor. Kitimat Airshed Group is out here, and I've got my arrow pointing towards Terrace, but it's actually Kitimat, so that's a mistake in my slide. Sorry. And the Bulkley Airshed is managed out of Smithers, and the Prince George Airshed is managed out of Prince George. These little red circles are just illustrating other airsheds that we have reached out to and are hoping will join our cause. So we did just get started in late 2022. So this is just a one step at a time go. But so far, we're pretty happy. We've been able to share information, keep each other informed, provide support, review material for each other. We developed a webinar for our Burn It Smart program this year. We learned a lot doing that, and we hope to develop more webinars and improve them as we go. We have developed seasonal and monthly themes, which we're hoping to refine, which will help guide some of the things that we wind up tackling and get us a little bit more focused each month. We've shared lots of different funding sources, and we've also shared our contacts. And our plans just to continue with those seasonal month and that monthly material to develop kind of things that we can collaborate on throughout the month, developing educational material, workshops and then the K-12 type material for our schools, host events and webinars, and collaborate for funding support for larger projects that maybe we can tackle all together. So we are dreaming a bit big. And like I said, it is going to take time because we are just getting started, but we're having fun. And I think that helps, just being able to collaborate and, and get on the phone when you encounter a bit of a problem and be able to talk to somebody else that, has been at it for a while or has encountered, a problem of a similar nature. And even if they haven't, sometimes just bouncing those ideas to problem solve with your colleagues is really, really important. I just want to give a final plug to another piece of collaborative work that we've recently undertaken. PGR entered into, we applied to the School of Community and Regional Planning with UBC. It's a master's program. And we were teamed up with three very energetic, brave, and motivated students to develop a comprehensive assessment of the co-benefits for air quality and climate change in the Prince George Airshed. As many of you know, air quality and climate change are, for all intents and purposes, managed independently. But, pardon me, often when you attempt to make a positive change to air, to say something in the climate change realm, you could actually be impacting air quality negatively. So it makes sense to address these two fields simultaneously, at least at some point in any given project in the planning phases, at least take a look at the opportunities where you can benefit both and not just one. So our SCARP, which is what we call it, studio team, started with nearly 500 actions. They dug through pretty much, the city of Prince George, the regional district of Fraser, Fort George, through those organizations' climate action and mitigation plans, and we're able to dig up these 500 actions. And then they distilled them down into a final report, which identified what they called 10 big moves and proposed 45 actions that offer benefits to both air quality and climate change. And this was across three sectors, which are our highest contributing sectors to air pollutants and greenhouse gas emissions. And that was transportation, industry, and buildings, so infrastructure. They also identified funding opportunities for each big move, which was very, very helpful, and suggested timelines and lead organizations for each of these proposed actions. They supported each proposed action by providing examples, which they categorized into 6 action types: funding, initiatives, capacity building, advocacy, regulation, and demonstration projects. And then finally, they recommended a phased or a stepwise approach, which I thought, which is brilliant and very important, because you don't want to go, saying, I'm going to get rid of all wood stoves all at once, and because that probably won't go over well, especially up here in the north, where lots of people do heat with wood. But they suggest a phased approach where you slowly can phase something out or phase something in, depending on your project and what it is you're trying to do. So you're not tackling something all at once, but making incremental changes over time to get that buy-in or that political approval and uptake. And PGR really does plan to incorporate these actions into our air quality management plan. And we're really excited about the utility of the project that it provides us. And these actions can be spread around, because they're not just for our community, they're for every community. So again, there'll be more collaboration coming out of that project. And I'll give a plug for Nathan, Melissa, and Vanessa. Those were the 3 students, and they did an amazing job. So that's all I have, and I'll take questions too at some point when we get there. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Patience. And I'm really glad you brought up that study that the students did at UNBC. Sounds like, that's sort of, they're tackling those big questions, right, between climate change and air quality. Both are important issues. Both are things that need to be addressed. And there are sometimes some benefits when you do one, and then sometimes there's maybe some negative impacts that we need to be aware of when making those decisions. So I see we still have Tanya. So I'm going to ask one of my questions here that is good for everybody to answer, and I'll ask Tanya to go first, which is, throughout this webinar, we've seen some common threads and some common themes around some various issues. And so, Tanya, I wonder, just kind of a bit of an open mic, open floor, any thoughts that you've had on some of the some of the common themes that we've been hearing, or additional resources that you'd want to flag for us that CRAZ is up to, that you think might be of interest to those on the call or those listening to the recorded webinar.
Yeah, I think that these are so good for this kind of general conversation, right? Because you get to see what everybody's doing and what they're thinking about and what we can share or what can be shared with us. I was thinking we have a member of our Air Quality Management Planning Committee. She is a professor at the University of Calgary, and they just did a study a couple of years ago, maybe more than a couple, but they did a study on roadways and corridors in Calgary that I thought I could share with the Clean Air Partnership, just to give, just to see if they want to see it, but it focused on the people that, were living close to, or roadways close to schools and like our main roadway through our city. So I'd like to share that as well.
Yeah, thanks. And if you send that my way too, we'll actually post it to our website along with the recording of this webinar. And that way, we've got a sort of a landing point for all of these great resources that are out there in multiple provinces around similar issues. So that's fantastic. Before I go to that same question, ask everybody else to chip in on that one. Also hoping that you can touch on membership to your organization. What does that look like? Other benefits aside from committee involvement? Perfect.
So all airsheds are different in their funding formula models. Our airshed in Calgary and area, so we do kind of a polluter pay principle with our memberships, and everything's voluntary. So everything's a volunteer basis. So our municipalities pay 10 cents per capita. Our public members pay $50 a year. It's kind of everybody lives, works, and plays in the area, so they also pay. And NGOs have kind of just a standard rate that they pay. So it's a very minimal rate. But we honestly, if you want to be on our committees, we just let you be on our committees too. You don't have to be a member. We don't turn anybody away. So yeah, so that's how our membership basis works.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tanya. And I'll officially, say thank you for your participation in this webinar. I do know that you have to get going. So,
yes, thank you so much for everything. And feel free, my email address is on the CRAZ website that Julie put in the link. So let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Tanya. All right, and I'd like, others on the call, both from Clean Air Partnership and Fraser Basin to touch on those two questions that we just went through. After listening to each other, what other resources sort of come to mind that you think, hey, people really need to know about this, and anything else that people might want to know about the structure of your organization in terms of getting more involved? So I guess let's go to Clean Air Partnership first, and then we'll head over to patients there in BC.
Awesome. I can cover a bit about some of the initiatives that might be useful and share some resources, and then Desi can talk a little bit about how others can get involved. So recently, we run a project called the Center for Active Transportation, and through that we ran a sub-project which involved like closing areas around schools. So it was called a School Streets Pilot Program, where they were completely closed to all vehicular traffic, and students would just like walk and use other active transportation modes, so like walk, bike, and go to school that way. So which really helped reducing a lot of pollution from in and around school areas, because as you all might be aware, there's a lot of pollution associated with the drop-in drop-offs and the idling of vehicles that happens around school. So I can share a link with Julie about that report, and then Julie, if you can paste it in the chat.
Wonderful. Yes, thanks. Happy to do that. Any additional comments from you, Desislava?
No, that was what we were planning to respond on this question. I may get the next one. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Patience, over to you. And just a quick note before you answer, I'm seeing a lot of questions in the Q&A, wanting to get a hold of that report that you referred to from the students at UNBC. So I think, I'm thinking maybe I'll need to get in touch with those students and invite them to a future webinar, sort of dig into that with them, in addition to other organizations that we may be able to reach out to. So over to you for any additional resources that you'd like to share.
Yeah, I'm very, very blessed to have the results that these students pulled together. It was quite the project. So, and I'm not sure exactly, I have to, so PG Air has a board, and we also have committees. So we have an operations committee, which meets monthly and oversees the, basically the operations of PG Air. we design initiatives and yeah, just pull resources. And then we right now we also have an air quality management plan committee. And I need to probably ask them how much and how wide I can share that report. We'll see. So, and it was UBC, not UNBC. We do have it's okay. We have the analytics lab up here at UNBC, and we are really hoping to collaborate them as we move through this air quality management plan piece, because we may very well need updated data and whatnot. And these guys are they're honed in on air quality issues and measuring air quality and stuff and analyzing it. So that's great. I think it sounds like some common threads too, different universities in different areas have those teams. And so if you haven't reached out to those entities, I encourage you to, and I encourage you to reach out to other airsheds, if depending on where you are and depending on the province, because it is managed differently. But just by having those open lines of communication and being able to collaborate, and I'll come across something, or and my colleagues will come across something, and just sharing those things, because you can't be everywhere and you can't get to every workshop, you can't get to every webinar, so I think that's what I really do encourage is it is a community, and it is a community effort to look after air quality. And it's great to have all these little campaigns and learn from each other. I just a quick through our Facebook page, and I encourage you, PG Air has a Facebook page. We have a wonderful website that has all kinds of our resources and literature and stuff on it. So pgairquality.com. I did have it on my slide, but it's easy enough to find. You just Google PG Air or the Prince George Air Improvement Roundtable. But through our Facebook page, I got in touch with a retired teacher out of San Francisco. And she just said, hey, what are you guys doing for anti-idling and air fresheners? Was another one of her specialties. And she's been a really neat connection. She's down in the States, and she sends me posters and ideas. And she, we're hoping to get her on a call with my Bulkley and Kitimat group one day, because we just think she's going to be a wealth of information and share those types of things. So we're thinking of developing a coloring book for the kids. That will be one of our next things. So yeah. Anyway, I could talk forever, so I'll stop.
Well, it's exciting. It's exciting,
It is.
work, especially when you get to that, finding those synergies and that collaborative opportunity, within your own province or beyond, right?
Sorry, quickly about the report, because that is really important. And man, the actions that these guys identified, and they did do some case studies. So hopefully it won't be long, and I'll be able to put that on the PGR website, and it'll be under the resource tab on our website. So,
okay, great. Thank you. And for anybody listening live, I did put the website of PGR into the chat just now. So you have a direct link there. We are edging up. We've got 1 minute left in this 60-minute webinar. The time flew by. So I would like to just take a moment to thank you, for coming to present today, Patience, Desislava, and Devanshi, for telling us more about what your organizations are up to and for sharing, some of the great resources that are out there and some of your future plans. Really looking forward to future conversations and sharing all of those resources that you mentioned today. I'd also like to thank the folks on the call who, put some great questions into that chat box, and also to Russ Miyagawa, who you can't see on the screen right now, but Russ does the technical support for these webinars, and we very much appreciate his efforts. So with that, I guess have a good day, everybody, and we hope to see you again at a future Clean Air webinar. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.